So my name is Stephan Kamphues. I'm in the gas business since roughly 25 years. I experienced several unbundlings according to the legislation. Since 2010, I'm also working as the president of ENTSOG, that is the European Network of Transmission System Operators Gas. So we are the source for European energy law as we draft it, and then the Commission puts it into a legal obligation. Whatever will happen in in Latvia, I think I have experienced it several times, and in one case also regarding my own person. The issue is here that if you follow these legal rules, you have only one chance. You start this, and then you have to do it right. Later on, it's very difficult to correct any mistakes. We have seen that this huge change in the setup, so that you today have unbundled trading companies, storage companies, and TSOs, so transmission system operators, and down below the distribution system operators, have brought many companies in problems. It's not the only reason, but we have seen that many of the trading companies have been created newly, are already dead again, or have survived, but many of the old integrated companies got really into trouble with enormous effects on the people, on the staff, and on the income of the shareholders. So this has to be taken very seriously. First, you have to unbundle it, and then you have to have stable companies. And it is very difficult to do all this in one step. So separate it and then sell it. Why is that so? Normally, when you buy something, you want to see the past of this company. In the case of unbundling, it's completely different. You don't have an existing company because the old company is put into parts and nobody understands how does this new part will work in the future. If you want to sell a company, you need 1 year of preparation. You have to bring forward the data room. You have to bring forward the presentations that the management has to give, that the experts have to give. You have to collect all the technical data, the economical data, and you have to prepare a business plan that everybody can believe. This takes you roughly 1 year. And then you go for a public tender. You invite. And then you have a pre-qualification pay phase, then you have an indicative binding phase, and at the end, you have a binding sales operation. This takes you roughly another year. Now, unbundling. How long does unbundling need in terms of time? The biggest issue to have the organizational setup. 2, 3 companies that will work in the future and function. And that needs all the discussions for all the parts. Nobody is left over. All jobs are allocated. Business plan is there for each and everybody, and it's tested. So you have discussed, and you are really sure that this works. From my point of view, it takes you 2 years, and you should separate that. Selling is one thing. Setting up such a new business, which you do only once in your lifetime, I think, is a second one. And I've seen many mistakes there because the people thought it's just an easy going. I would say 2 years for the unbundling, 2 years for the sales. You can go to any European business school, to any university, and there to the financial department. And you can ask anybody, how long does it take to prepare it and to agree on it? Then you will always find that it's not doable in 9 months. The buyer wants to be 100% sure that he's buying something valuable. So he needs to check the documents. He needs to check the techniques. He wants to send in an advisor on the technical side who is checking the asset health. He will want to have somebody who checks the needs for staff. Do they have enough staff or is it not enough staff? So this all takes time, and it goes, the faster, the better it is prepared. So the preparation time is absolutely necessary in order to have assurance of the buyer that he gets something reasonable, and for the seller that he also gets the value. If everything is already there, everything is prepared, 9 months is okay, but the preparation time is at least another 9 months. No way out. When you start unbundling, you create more than one entity and you will increase the costs. Yeah? You will end up with several managements, several regulatory departments, legal departments, financial departments, blah, blah, blah. So you cannot avoid that the costs are increasing. So what we have seen in Europe is, first of all, the cost was increasing, of course, because you had more companies in a more complicated structure. On the other hand, you had in some countries decreasing purchase prices because there was competition and an interconnection. If you look at this price convergence in Europe, there are some countries where you clearly had an advantage for the end consumer as regards more competition. But on the other hand, partially in some countries, it was really compensated by higher costs, mainly driven by staff cost, but also complication costs and doubling. In the case of the Baltic states, I would say the trouble is that you will not create enough competition. You have LNG in Lithuania as an only alternative source in the beginning. I know that maybe the Estonians and maybe the Lithuanians don't like to hear it that loud, but one of the anchor points and cornerstones of the Baltic system is Inčukalns. And Inčukalns has its meaning for Russia, clear, but it has also a lot of meaning for Estonia and in particular also for Lithuania. And you cannot do it always by saying now, after we have the floating LNG harbor in Klaipėda, it's easier. Yes, it's easier, but still the meaning of Inčukalns is there. And Inčukalns serves to stabilize, in particular, the system in all the countries in the winter. Today, if you look at the price curve, the old spread between the winter and the summer is gone. In the old times, it was always summer gas was cheap and winter gas was expensive. So you put something in storage, and when the winter comes, you take parts of it that you have cheaply bought in the summer out of the storage, and you have then a reliability also for your profitability. Today, this has disappeared. There are small changes only between winter and summer. Germany has today, as we sit here, the lowest injection rate we have ever seen. And it is the same every year. Every year we see a new record of low injection rates of gas into the storages. If I look at the heating sector and power and heat sector in the Baltic states, you have the district heating, then you need the gas. And you have to buy the gas, whether it's expensive or cheap. So I think from a security of supply point of view, a full injection before the winter is absolutely inevitable. Others might say maybe the market does it work, but if you have physically no gas, you are in real trouble. And I've seen that in 2012 when we have in my own company closed or shut off all interruptible contracts. We have contracts where we have to supply or to transport on a firm basis, and there are some where we can interrupt. And we have interrupted in February 2012 every interruptible capacity, and nobody has liked us for that. But that was the consequence of low storage volumes. In the case of the joint three Baltic states, you have two sources of flexibility. One is Inčukalns, the other is Klaipėda, or the LNG. And you have to maintain them, and you have to look at that not from a profitability point of view, and not from a trading point of view, and not from an unbundling point of view. But for the Baltic states, this is clearly a security of supply point of view. Today we have a split of the responsibilities, and then nobody puts gas in store, or at least not enough. The result is that everybody says, okay, somebody should do it, but not me. and then you have a drop in the security of supply. And that has been happening in France. They have now issued a law that every trader has to put some gas in storage. Hungary has issued a law that they have now a strategic storage controlled by the state. Others are in discussions on how to arrange it. Others say you have to unite several countries and to come up with several solutions. The German discussion is, shall there be a strategic storage or shall the TSOs reallocate the storage? But there is a there is a price to be paid, and nobody wants to pay it. But in the case of the Baltic states, you can't afford to let that slip.